I turned an ordinary desert whisper into a deadly sniper rifle simply because I had crossed into the world of my own novel and gained top-tier abilities to alter its rules. After I demonstrated that power, Yoon Song-ah took notice. She handed me her card and asked a question, hoping I would answer. Outwardly, she presented the polished image of an elder sister from the Lim family, but I knew better. She was a ruthless survivor who believed in the lore of the jungle. Even those she recruited enthusiastically today could be discarded without a second thought if they later failed to meet her expectations. A connection with her would be valuable for future advancement, but not now. When she began by asking how I had driven off the demon, I refused on the spot. That was not something I would reveal. Undeterred, she reintroduced herself and said she was very interested in me. I remained calm and simply thanked her for the attention. Most likely she had followed me because she'd seen me use light magic. For now, her interest was only that interest. I decided to play a little hard to get to heighten her curiosity. I stood to leave before she could react. She could only watch me go. Back in the dormitory, I examined the sacred mark more closely. The magic contained within it responded to my will. I imagined the mark's power forming into the shape of a short sword. Sure enough, the mark on my wrist began to glow, and a small dagger materialized in my hand. That showed the sacred mark's magic could be used in many flexible ways. I had assumed that arriving in this world would put me beyond reach of magic, so I hadn't expected to wield it in any form. Next, I checked the newly appeared Book of Truth. Using the sacred mark's power, I manifested the book with magic. A mechanical voice informed me that the book contained truth, and within the bounds of magic, could answer any question. I asked it my height. The answer it returned was precise, and a small amount of my SP was consumed, probably because I lack innate magic, so it drew from my points instead. At that moment, my digital watch buzzed with an urgent notice from Cube Academy. A Cheongon class student, Jin Ha-gyong, had gone missing. I realized immediately this was the start of the second main plotline, the chain disappearances at Cube Academy. As the name implied, 6 students would vanish within a month, and the culprit would leave no clues. This arc was crucial, because the final target would be Ryu Yun-ha. I briefly considered trying to catch the perpetrator before the next incident, but I dismissed that plan. Interfering rashly with the plot could trigger events I couldn't predict, so I decided to observe quietly for now. The following days went on as usual with training, but something different kept happening. People would show up just to mock me. One day, as Kim Soo-ho was about to take a break, someone told him to look ahead. That's when he saw a student hurling insults at me without restraint, calling me useless, saying I couldn't even lift a barbell that light. Kim Soo-ho looked furious, but the man beside him told him to stay calm and not get involved. That man was none other than Yoon Han, the class leader of the truth class. I, of course, was only putting on an act. After all, Kim Soo-ho himself had spread the word that I was the one who crippled a demon's arm. With that kind of feat, there's no way Seon Jung-heok's people would dare bully me openly. Yet under everyone's gaze, I truly couldn't lift the barbell. Seeing me struggle to even stand, Kim Soo-ho finally lost his temper and stormed forward, clashing with those who were mocking me. The commotion in the training grounds eventually drew the instructor, who ordered everyone to stop. Once things calmed down, he called us to assemble. A few days earlier, we had taken a test on phenomenal realm analysis, and now the results were out. Scores were quickly posted on the wall, and students rushed over to check if they had passed. Looking at the rankings, I wasn't surprised to see my name at the top. As the author of this world, combined with my observational skills, this outcome was only natural. But just then, the sound of someone stomping echoed from behind. It was Rachel Elizabeth Lewis, clearly in disbelief at the results. I remembered her original setting. She was a princess of the empire, ranked 3rd among Cube Academy's new entrants, just behind Kim Soo-ho and Seon Jung-heok. Since the day she entered Cube Academy, Rachel Elizabeth Lewis had never once failed to take first place in any exam, no matter how small or large. Now I finally understood. My very existence as a cheat had disrupted the world's original balance. With the world shifting, countless new forces were rising. Cube Academy stood among the very top, gathering the most talented students from across the globe. Even someone like Rachel Elizabeth Lewis, an imperial princess, was no exception. When she first enrolled, she had sworn never to let down the honor of her royal bloodline. Yet today, for the first time, she had been defeated. During class, the teacher gave me high praise for my performance. After some thought, Rachel Elizabeth Lewis realized that until midterms, she would have to watch me closely. Her curiosity only deepened. What exactly was I studying day to day? The truth was, I never paid attention in class. After the lesson ended, I returned to my routine. With the Book of Truth now in my hands, I decided it was time to put it to real use. So, in Purple Smoke Street, I established an intelligence bureau. For now, there wasn't much trustworthy information to work with, but with the right opportunity to build a reputation and the Book of Truth to back it up, I was certain I could attract a steady stream of clients. After registering the bureau, I turned my attention to the SP points I had been saving. It was time to start spending them wisely, which meant the cube was no longer a safe cradle. With my current abilities, I wasn't strong enough to fight demons alone. Thanks to the constant bullying from Shin Jong-hyuk and his group, I had gained a lot of attention, and as my popularity rose, my SP points instantly maxed out. After saving them for so long, it was finally time to use them to strengthen myself. The first thing I needed to upgrade was my weapon. Step 1 was to rewrite the settings with the Omni Rewrite function, adding a transformation ability to my Desert Eagle so it could morph into a sniper rifle. It sounded absurd, but if I wanted more power, I had no choice. This modification cost a hefty 2,505 SP points. Once I saved the new setting, my Desert Eagle instantly transformed into a sniper rifle. If I took this outside, I was sure it would shock anyone who saw it. I switched it back to its handgun form for now. Next, I needed to enhance my memories. If talent was a supernatural phenomenon based on magic, then memories were something honed through experience. As a shooter, survival and assassination were what mattered most. I came up with a memory that fit perfectly. After writing out a simple framework, I spent some points to generate it. Soon, the computer produced a memory called Parkour. It cost over 3,000 SP points, but the effect was exactly what I needed. It boosted my agility and flexibility. Before I could even test it, my watch alarm suddenly rang. This time, it was news that Song Eon from Cheonggwon class had disappeared. He was the second victim. In the novel, until Ryu Yeonha was kidnapped, all the missing students were tormented by the culprit. And yet, even though I knew exactly who the culprit was, I still stood by and watched as students vanished one after another. Even if this was just a world inside a novel, I felt lost. Should I act before the timeline unfolded? The next day, many students gathered at the cube's outdoor training ground. The instructor announced that today's combat training would be different. Inside the deep caves lay the cube's artificial dungeon, filled with puppet versions of real cube monsters. Today's mission was a simulated dungeon raid. The instructor warned us not to take this lightly. Those puppets could still threaten our lives. And since the dungeon was vast, this would be a joint exercise between Jinri class and Toy class. Each squad would temporarily pair up with a squad from the other class. The upgrades I made last night were finally going to be useful. The cube's artificial dungeon was riddled with traps, some of which had even been tampered with by hidden demons. Just in case, I had prepared a few special bullets with elemental properties. Right then, a sudden pop-up appeared on my computer screen. It showed 3 setting changes had occurred. I immediately began scanning the area to identify who had caused them. Turns out, it was Jo Won from Kim Soo-ho's team. He had become even more withdrawn. Then, Guy Dan, from Toy class, had his growth potential upgraded. The last was a teammate of Chai Na-yoon, a boy named Sven, whom she seemed to have seen in another club before. But Sven's condition was alarming. His nervous breakdown had worsened, and the system warned that during the dungeon raid, his chances of being corrupted by demon minions would increase drastically. These sudden changes left me completely stunned. The situation was spinning far more out of control than I expected.